Here in the month of April is our sale where it's $2 off for the bulk loader scoop. Four types of bulk mulches that are wonderful, different appearances, red and black, and of course the mocha and our best bark in the Valley Hardwood. The Mulch Madness thing, though, it was pointed out that there are some issues, and they're true issues, and we've always stated that you need to not over mulch,
right?
And you don't want to pile mulch up on the trunks of the trees. The mulch volcanoes that you see out there are really detrimental to the trees, so they make a very good point. 3 to 4 inches, old and new together. So if you've already got a 3-inch layer and you want to freshen it up, you've got maybe an inch to play with. But as you soften the plant, so if you go to an herbaceous perennial, for instance, you need to reduce that. Maybe 2 inches is the right level. And if you're going to be planting annuals, 1 inch would be the right level. But mulching's still important. It moderates soil temperature. It moderates soil moisture. It will help a wet soil dry out. It'll help a dry soil stay moist. And it just looks good.
Well, that's true. It covers up the weeds or anything else that might be trying to get in there, right?
Absolutely. And anymore, we're doing a lot of gravel mulches, too.
Okay, yeah.
There you have a trade-off because you can't really plant through the gravel as easily. So you've got to watch where you do that. You need to use a soil separator fabric so that it doesn't work down into the soil, and that would lose your investment. And it costs a little more to get started with the gravel mulches, but boy, they can really look nice.
Yeah, and they stay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sure. You talked about the soil separator. That's not always a good idea, is it?
Well,
I mean, with the gravel it is, but in other cases?
With the gravel, but we're not talking about plastic. We're talking about one of the landscape fabrics that will allow air and moisture to go through. And yeah, you don't want to use that where you're going to be planting annuals because you're going to poke a bunch of little holes in it and break the barrier. The landscape fabrics in this case both do two things. They will help with the weed suppression. They're going to stop a lot of that. They're not going to stop everything. And then the gravel does not work down into the soil, and that's the most critical thing on that end of it. But we also use them underneath some of the bark mulches, and the trick here is to use a thinner layer of mulch on top of the fabric, just enough to keep it covered so the sun doesn't break it down. That will allow that mulch layer to dry out and kill any weeds that start in the mulch. I've seen a lot of situations where they put fabric down and then put 4 or 5 inches of mulch, and now you've got weeds growing into mulch. Yeah. They never penetrate down below, but so that's the trick with that.
They can certainly find their way in. So it's the first week of April. What should we be concerned now about with lawns and/or gardens?
Getting the weather changed so we can get out and enjoy it. But lawn care is what's been on our mind. We sign up pretty much the program for the year at this point, and we've got a complete lawn care program. The critical thing right now is to be thinking about the pre-emergent crabgrass control that goes down. Typically, the very best time will be just after the forsythia blooms have dropped. So when you see that in your area, it's great to have had your pre-emergent down at that point. That doesn't mean if you do it a week later or 2 weeks later, you're losing everything. It's just you'll begin to see a little bit of a diminishing return on that. So we want to get that done fairly soon. And then off air, we were talking about controlled release fertilizers, and those are important. We use a combination product that has a total controlled release, and it will release the nutrients over about a 6 to 8 week period. So that's how we schedule our applications. And the important thing there is you don't blast the turf into growing real fast and then slowing down because it starves. And every soil's different. We like to start lawns with some soil analysis. Sometimes we'll recommend a complete soil test so that we know what's going on chemically, but also physically with that soil. And the case in point would be if you have a real sandy, gravelly soil, which we sometimes find on the south side of New Philly, for instance, the controlled release fertilizer is critical because that soil can't hold the nutrients to release it. An organic soil that has a good organic matter percentage, a loamy soil, that can hold the nutrients and release them itself. So you'll pay attention to those type of things with how you design your lawn care program.
Is that more of a clay type base then?
Well, clay gets picked on a lot because it's hard to manage from a moisture standpoint, but clay actually will hold nutrients and it'll hold moisture. Unfortunately, sometimes it holds too much, and then other times it runs it all off and it's just parched, dry, hard clay, and the turf doesn't like that.
Well, we like bricks, though. So.
But that's why we recommend core aeration.
Oh, yeah.
Because we open up, allows air and water to penetrate down into the root system. And then the other thing that we like to recommend is raise the mower height. Most important thing you can do to help your turf, to be honest, it will allow for a deeper root system, which is less susceptible to summer drought and summer high temperature in the soils. It will provide more leaf area that essentially will shade that crown of the plant so it's protected a little bit, and that stops some of the weed seed germinating, so you reduce your weeds.
That's a good point, and it makes it easier to get through in the spring when it's really taking off.
Yeah, the common thought is that, well, I'm going to have to mow more often because I'm mowing higher, and that's not the case. The grass is going to grow at a certain rate no matter what. If you cut it down short, it's still going to grow at that rate, but you're going to notice it and have to cut it more often almost. So we don't see that as a problem. It doesn't really change the amount you have to mow. Plus, the amount of the percentage of the leaf blade that you're cutting off with each mow is actually reduced, and that reduces stress on the turf grass. So
keeping greener
helps it out.
Yeah, that's very good. What are some trends that people are coming in and asking about or wanting to buy?
Well, this time of year, everybody's talking about fruit trees and getting some flowering plants out there and so on. Important not to jump the gun. We're going to see snow on Friday. I think you're going to have one of those bad forecasts. So you have to be a little bit cautious at this point in the year. I think the trends are trying to go to low maintenance. That's the biggest thing that we hear. And a lot of people want to use the unique plants, the weepers, sometimes what I'll call the misshapen ones. Mm-hmm. And that's great. I don't think we want them as every plant in the landscape because it reduces their uniqueness, but sometimes you see that. Low maintenance, the biggest thing you can do is create a bed line that matches your mower, because you're out there mowing, trimming, pruning, if you will, once a week, sometimes twice a week. So if you have a nice smooth line, that means you don't have to go back with a weed eater. That reduces your time in the landscape and yet still keeps everything looking nice.
My point exactly.
To reduce the weed eater? Yeah.
Yes, there you go. Reduce the amount of time.
Yeah.
So services offered at Goodings. You don't just service Sherrills, obviously, but
no.
People are. How do we get a hold of you to ask questions?
740-269-7685. Stop out at the garden store there. We're on Route 212, just west of Sherrills in the Atwood Lake region. Garden store is open Monday through Saturday, 9 to 5, and they can answer most of the questions. We service the entire area, probably the entire listening area, although going online, we don't go everywhere. But
you're in Idaho. He's not coming.
Oh, goodness. Tuscarawas County, Carroll County, Holmes County, Harrison County, and even up into Stark County a good bit. So we stretch out.
And you were saying your staff not only is a nice group, but longevity. They've been there almost as long as you have.
Almost. Kent's been 38 years now, I believe. And he runs the lawn care program, and he takes that very seriously. He finds all the lawns he's on very personal. So.
Well. That's the way you want it, right?
Absolutely.
That's good.
Yeah.
Give us a website. Is there such a thing?
GoodingsNursery.net. Will find us. You can contact me at phil@goodingsnursery.net. It's another way to get in touch.
That would be very good. Phil, thanks for visiting. It's so good to talk to you, and good luck getting back into your basketball officiating. Okay.
Well, that might be a little more challenge. So.
It's not the season anyway, so good. We'll have you again, all right?
I would like that. That'd be great.
Very good. That's Phil Gooding from Gooding's Nursery and Landscaping, as he's our guest this morning here on the 8:30 High Beam on the BT Morning Show.